today we are.
Terribly sorry for being tardy. Well, we're a little tardy. Actually, can we say that word anymore? Tardy? Isn't it based on a word we can't say?
I don't know.
TARDIS.
Yeah, no tardy.
TARDIS. Like,
Yeah, it must be TARDIS. Yeah, it wouldn't be any other word we can think of.
Yeah.
Alright, so thanks for tuning in. Today we're actually going to be doing blends. So I suppose the first question that we're going to ask is, what is a blend? Alright, so Pat, what do you reckon a blend is? Actually, just before we go ahead, I'm sorry, I should really introduce this. Pat's our novice wine drinker. Dan has been working with me for over 10 years now, and he is our knowledgeable man, and I'm Andrew, and I'm a bit of a know-it-all. So, Pat, what do you think a blend is?
Originally what I thought a blend was basically a varietal that wasn't up to scratch, so they mix it with other ones to kind of make something more palatable.
Yep.
And then now, like, I realise it's got kind of negative connotations, and it's actually like...
So, I'm going to say you're actually 80% right, honestly.
Yeah.
With the initial one you said was, it was wine essentially left over that they put into a batch to try with other wine to try and make it taste better. That is the connotation that most consumers have. And I'd say most consumers, I'm talking 80% of the market.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I wasn't a wine drinker.
So what actually really is it's more about what traditionally wine was. So in wine growing regions, you didn't come in and go, I'm going to make Shiraz, because they hadn't identified what Shiraz grapes were.
Yeah.
They hadn't identified what Cabernet grapes were. That's where we get a lot of wines from. So Cabernet is actually a cross of Cab Franc and Sauvignon Blanc. So those two actually came together and were crossed, not in a lab, but actually in situ. We were actually crossed to make Cabernet Sauvignon. So it was the fruit of the Cab Franc and the colour of the Cab Franc with the acidity of the Sauv Blanc, which made a really nice style of wine. Or it made a nice grape that made a good wine. So blends were generally taken in. Let's just go back to the classic region, which is France. And the classic blend you've got is probably Bordeaux. So what they did is they grew a whole bunch of grapes. They knew which grapes grew well and made good wine, because they every year in year out they have picked those grapes, put them into things, pressed them, put them together, and made a wine. Now that was always a blend, always. So the classic 6 varietals that they used in Bordeaux at the time were Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Carmenere, Malbec, and Petit Verdot. Those 6 grape varietals were pretty much strewn throughout the vineyard. They were planted throughout the vineyard. Later on, they began to identify what was the strongest of the best grapes to use, and they replanted areas with those once they understood which varietals were. So traditionally, all wine was generally of a blend. Now, as we've progressed through, you might notice that over the last, particularly since the 1800s, since 1864, 1862, they had flocks that come through, wiped a whole bunch of stuff out. At that point, they replanted with varietals that they knew were really good in that region, but they also planted them together. So that's why you have a big block of Cabernet, and then a block of Merlot, and then a block of da-da-da. And so that's why they planted those varietals together. Beforehand, they were higgledy-piggledy throughout the vineyard. So that is the original sort of wine, was a blend anyway, a blend of different grape varietals.
They don't even know what they're making, do they?
Generally not. They made a Bordeaux style, or they made a Burgundy style, white or red, depending on what they're making, or a rosé. Even throughout Spain, it was Tempranillo, Garnacho, Graciano,
Chianti?
Monastrell. No, that's Italy's Chianti.
Italy?
Yeah, so Spain would have actually been those varietals mixed together to make a Rioja, or a Jura, or a Ribera, or a Rias, if it's actually from the Rias area that's in Albarino. So over in Italy, Chianti is a prime example. Chianti grapes, predominantly Sangiovese, but only up to 80% can be Sangiovese in a Chianti. It has to be a blend of other things: Merlot, Coralino, a whole bunch of other. There's hundreds of grape varietals. So you can actually put all those into it, and that's what makes a blend. So you might notice that at no point in Bordeaux do we go, a Bordeaux, a Cabernet Bordeaux. We might say a Cabernet dominant Bordeaux or a Merlot dominant Bordeaux, but we don't say it's a Cab Sav from Bordeaux.
So what if someone comes in the shops and says, I want a Chianti, I want an Australian Chianti.
Well,
What actually would that consist of? Would you put a
Sangiovese
Merlot or a...
No. You'd actually go, what's the basis of Chianti? Is Sangiovese.
Sangiovese.
So we would direct it towards a Sangiovese and say this is a Sangiovese. This is the basis of Chianti, and this is probably the main thing you're looking for. It'll be a bit more fruit driven. Or we might put a Sangiovese Barbera or a Sangiovese Merlot. We've got a couple of those in as well. Blends. Again, so yeah, if they're looking for that sort of style, we find the base grape. If someone comes and goes, I love my right bank Bordeaux, what does Australia do that's equivalent? You look at Cab Sav. I like my left bank Bordeaux, what does Australia equivalent? You look at the Merlots. And that's only because you know predominantly the blends for right bank Bordeaux is Cabernet and the left bank Bordeaux is Merlot. Okay. If they go, I love Saint-Emilion, which is 100% Merlot, you know you're going to give them a Merlot. But that's knowledge that you have to actually impart to the customer. Customers don't generally have that knowledge. And this is kind of why when you guys tune in and watch this, picking this up, it's why it is essentially our staff training. That's why we do these kind of things. So the more information you've got, the easier it makes it for us to actually find what you want. So blends aren't just reds, they're whites as well.
Yeah.
But you might have noticed in the last 30 years, 40 years, all the wines have become single varietals. We talk about Shiraz, Cabernet, we talk about Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. Semillon Blanc is one of the few blends that's managed to survive through that period. There's a thing called an MRV, a Marsanne Roussanne Viognier, which I love.
Yeah, I've had one.
They're fantastic. Generally, you don't find too many of them because people immediately think like you do. And yet, the reason for a blend is that the sum of its parts are not as good as the whole. So the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, is what I'm saying. So, just to give you a quick thing for it, the aim of blending is to make a whole wine that's greater than the sum of its parts. Some varietals like Cabernet, Sauvignon and Merlot share a great synergy, and we'll talk about synergy as we go through. Sometimes they're blended with fruit from other regions, produce wines of greater balance and complexity. This happens quite a lot in some of the New World areas particularly. In France, in the Old World, not so much. They're very true to that area. And in Australia we have 3 major blending varietals. We actually have 4 major blending varietals. Shiraz, Grenache, Cabernet Sauvignon. In the reds, I also add Merlot to that. Cab Merlot is a classic. And Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. Now, first one we're going to look at though is one of my favourite winemakers. He does what's called a field blend. So this is Michael Hall's Blanc. Now, Sang de Pigeon Blanc. So Michael has confused me over the years a little bit. Over the years, he's done a Sang de Pigeon, which is blood of pigeon. He's done a Sang de Pigeon Blanc, and it was a Sauv Blanc. And he's done a Sang de Pigeon Blanc, being a Chardonnay Sauvignon Blanc. But this is his first true field blend. Now, just from the notes that he's given me, I'll just give you a quick run through of what a field blend is. When you are planting grapes, they were a bit higgledy-piggledy. But a field blend was actually generally the rows of wines that they put together to make a wine that the workers and that enjoyed. So rather than labelling it, putting it out there and selling it to the market as a field blend, they used to save that wine for the regulars, the cellar-door type people.
Yeah.
And the field blends are great wines.
Yeah, this particular.
Yeah, this is a stunner. So this one is a muscat-dominant Stone Garden vineyard at Springton, co-planted with aromatic whites and blended with skin ferments from Sauvignon Blanc. So it's a muscat-dominant Sauvignon Blanc blend, hand-picked, cold-soaked, tank-fermented, barrel-matured for 8 months. So you've just ticked all my boxes for a great wine. Intensely aromatic with elderflower, orange blossom, apple orchard and black currant. Now the last one was the one that freaked me out when I heard that.
Black currant.
Black currant.
I can actually smell it.
You can smell it through there.
first brought this in for us to try.
Yeah.
It's just, yep, we'll take it.
I can actually really taste the blackcurrant. I don't know if I'm really looking for it now, but
Yeah, you can taste it. The thing is, we have really been a bit mean. So, we talked about Moscato last time, which is made on Muscat's Petite Grains. I think it's Muscat de Alexandro. There's a few different Muscats. I can't remember which one's which. But Muscat Petite Grain is actually a red varietal muscat, which is usually used for Muscat port that we're talking about. But it also does make a good solid wine. Muscat of Alexandria, which I think is the Muscat dominant we're talking about here, makes a really, really stunning white wine. But the problem is we put the word muscat to it, we immediately go for those sweet characters.
yeah.
And really it's an aromatic wine, so it's more about the aromatic characters than it's about the sweet character. So whilst this one is dry, it's got a good sum of the parts. So you're not getting just a straight muscat, you get this, the acidity of Sauv Blanc in there actually balances it off really nicely. And the texture from the oak was great. It's got a lovely nose. It pretty much ticks all the boxes for a really great white wine.
It wasn't what I was expecting. Like,
It's almost the butteriness.
yeah, no. I went down the Chardonnay kind of like half of
But the
it.
fruit's so much brighter.
Yeah.
In Chardonnay fruit.
Yeah, it really is. And that muscat is a really, as I said, it's an aromatic fruit. Sauvignon Blanc is not an aromatic style. It does carry a lot of aromatics, but it's not a big aromatic style. But this one, this with the muscat, all the Sauv Blanc is there for is to give it a little bit more acidity, and because it's been barrel fermented or barrel aged, it's actually got some texture. So it's got weight, it's got aromatics, it's got acidity, it all balances beautifully.
It's got a really nice colour.
Colour's lovely. Nose is the first one. It can be, honestly, if I poured this to someone, didn't tell them what it was, put it on the table, and they went, oh, that's a bit weird. They would literally go that, but over the
That's
palate.
the oakiness of, to me, if you didn't know better, you'd smell it and think, it's probably a Chardonnay.
Well,
Just
actually,
the oaky and
the first time I saw it, I wasn't looking. I was listening to Michael talk, and I just had to pick a glass up. We'd just been doing some of the red part of it, and I picked this up, and I didn't even look at it. I just tasted it, and I went, well, that's a very light, elegant red. Oh, it's white. Okay. A little fun trick at home if you want to do it at some point. Get a black glass, or a glass you can't see the colour of, and get your partner or friend to pour either a white or a red wine into it. Particularly Viognier is a good one, Grenache. No, not Pinot Noir so much, but definitely Grenache and Viognier are two you can confuse. Semillon, what's the one that Semillon sort of matches off against? Because you see, a lot of what we determine when we look at it is we immediately put characters in our head of what that's going to be.
Yeah.
If you've ever drunk a white Shiraz, for example, it's definitely confronting if you're not used to it. So what we do is we go, you put it into a black glass, you don't see the colour, so your mind doesn't associate it with any fruits or spectrums or anything at all, and you taste it and then try and guess whether it's red or white.
Yeah.
It's actually a really cool thing. I had it done to me, and I must admit, I lucked it. I managed to luck it out and get the right colour. But a lot of people in the room who were pretty good wine adjudicators were certainly saying that it was.
stumped.
Yeah, they were not stumped. They just went, oh yeah, that's red, turned out to be white, or that's definitely white, turned out to be red.
Well, there is like a psychosomatic thing with your eyes kind of playing tricks on your taste buds. Like, yeah, that's supposed to be that thing where if you eat blue noodles, like you just couldn't do it.
Really?
Yeah, if you put blue food colouring in noodles, like your
Yeah.
brain just looks at it and it's like it's not natural, it's
It's
not
not
right.
right.
Yeah, and we tried it out, we did it, but yeah, it was definitely wrong.
Yeah, and that's your brain doesn't.
Yeah.
It's literally like I read the tasting notes out. So if I had put anything, if I'd made up a couple of things into this, so yes, I did get elderflower, orange blossom, apple I got, and blackcurrant. You already said that. Dry, talky, and punchy, right? If I had put in there plums,
Yeah.
would you have suddenly seen plums? It's a good. It's
I reckon.
It's too late now.
Yeah, I know. I reckon. Yeah, I reckon most people are definitely susceptible. Like Yeah, especially with wine.
Especially with wine because it is quite subjective.
A
But
lot
yeah.
of them don't even have tasting notes on.
No.
A lot of bottles now.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's usually got a little story.
Well, I imagine it's more actually whiskey. I reckon you can be way more subjective with whiskey and
Yeah.
Just,
There you go.
Phone a friend.
Phone a friend. Oh, good. That's
But yeah, I reckon like whiskey, especially because like it's just so fine tuned, you can easily get not tricked, but like you can see a taste that might not be there if someone just mentions it.
Mhm.
Your brain can just make it happen.
that's actually true. So,
We could have had this with the aromatic wines actually.
Yeah.
Nose on this is just.
well, muscat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This probably would have been better for the aromatic stuff. But when, pardon me, when I was in Edinburgh, I did the whiskey experience there, and I recommend doing it if you get a chance. It's brilliant. It's a little bit hokey with the ride, but then you actually get the really good information at the end of it. So, what they started talking about was pears, and in all my whiskey drinking, I had never seen pears in whiskey. And it's a classic for Highlands and Speyside. And I went, really? Okay. So I was tasting it, and I was literally looking for pears. And my mind went, yes, here's pears there. Now, up until that point, I would never have classified it as pears. But now I have seen it, I can't not see it.
Yeah.
And that's and this is what happens to a lot of things. You'll be Heston Blumenthal's probably the classic for it when it comes to cooking. Is that he'll give you a fruit on a plate, and you go, oh, a fruit. It turns out it's meat, and that's really weird. You're going, oh, that's my brain is just really hurting from that, because you're seeing fruit, you're seeing apple or orange or whatever. You cut into it and you eat it, and it's meat, and you go, oh, my brain is just not handling that. So that what's the word for it? Suggestion.
Yeah.
Is always a big thing. So you always have to be a bit careful, especially when you're doing tasting and notes and adjudication. It's very, very hard not to listen to the people around you because a lot of times they're really knowledgeable, and they're seeing insights that you may not see, but you want to see. You want to see what they're seeing, and in fact, you will go, oh, I see what you're talking about now. It's only very few times that I've actually turned around and said, oh, I think you're wrong. And it takes a pretty strong-willed person to do that, or a very confident person to do that. Because I'm not saying you should do it, but if you don't see what they're saying is there, but you do see something else, put it out there, because I think you'll be surprised the number of times what you see, a lot more people around you will see as well.
I think once you vocalize it as well, people will be like, oh yeah, that's that thing that I couldn't.
Yeah. Can't.
And there's so many times you've gone, it's got something to it.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting cottage cordial in that. Yeah, cottage orange
I
cordial.
didn't get any cordial.
Oh, actually, yeah, like
Cottage orange cordial.
like heavily diluted. Like, yeah. No, I can see that now.
You know, when you just crack a top of a cottage orange cordial, you get that whiff, and it's literally, he's called it orange blossom on here, but that's my thing, is I go, oh, that's an orange cordial, orange cottage cordial. So.
Well, as a little tidbit, like, have you ever seen the miracle fruits, or the miracle berries?
Oh, those ones that grow on the trees, on the tree bark itself?
No. They're like a little bush. Like they don't get very tall, but they have these little. They actually look kind of like olives or what those things are.
Yeah.
They got like a pit inside of it. You eat them, and it blocks the sweet receptors in your your sour receptors in your tongue or something like that, and it forces it actually dilates the sweet receptors. And it forces everything to go down the sweet receptors.
Oh wow!
And it makes everything taste sweet. You can literally drink a pint of Guinness and it will taste like a chocolate milkshake. You can drink
we are
cider
so
vinegar.
trying this.
Yeah, no, my friend did a thing down in this fancy like club in Brisbane where you had to earn over $250,000 to be a member. He had one of these berries. You eat one of them and you have this buffet. The thing he didn't tell them though was that even though your brain thinks it's sweet, you're still eating like lemons and all these things that are just really sour. But then you wake up in the morning and you've just eaten so much like acid that your stomach just feels rotten.
So where do you get some of these? I'm so
Yeah, they actually grow really well in the land. They're really hard to find seeds or trees.
Oh,
or
we are
anything.
so getting some. We're going to find out who has some. if you know anyone that's got some, we are so trying this.
We could do a wine tasting.
A
with
wine
that, it'd
tasting
probably
with
be
that,
horrible.
yeah, ridiculous.
We
So-
could do a chili chicken challenge.
Oh
right?
yeah, chili chicken.
Oh,
Yeah.
we could do a brew crew with it.
No, that would mess up too many people.
Yeah.
They're already drinking that heavily. Yeah. So now we're going to go on to the red. So that's just an idea of white. So what's called a field blend. So it's a blend of whites. Generally, it's a blend of half a dozen different whites even, with no real dominant character to it, like no real overriding 60% of this. And also the thing is, the good part about field blends is that can change year to year depending on vintage. So what they used to do is they used to make the wine style more important. So therefore, let's say field blends, your field blend from the Côte de Rhône from this particular winery tastes like this. Next year, vintages change, different climate conditions, different growth patterns. They still try to make the wine like that. And that might be reducing the amount of this grape and increasing the amount of this grape or whatever. So that's another thing too, that it was stylistic. Style was more important than varietal, if that makes sense, which is why they do it. That's why Bordeaux is so renowned, is because they make consistent style for the house, or consistent house style. But now we're going to go on to what I consider Australia, well, I consider this next wine to be one of the best wines, probably one of the best wines in store for me. I have drunk many very, very expensive wines, but this one was, when I first got to the store, and Dan can attest to this, we had cartons of this stuff, cartons and cartons
That
and
rack was
cartons.
full.
It was absolutely chockers with it. It used to be a steel wire rack that was just
Yeah, it was a bigger one than that.
huge.
There would have been hundreds of bottles.
There was hundreds of bottles of it, and we looked at it and went, "Oh, what the hell is this stuff?" We have no idea of the name of it. What is it? Soul Growers. Never heard of the winery. Who could it be? We tried the wine, and there was verticals on it. There was like 2001s and 2000s, 2002s. 2005 was the best by far. And we tried them all and went, "Holy wow, this is an amazing wine. Absolutely amazing." And I have to say, I absolutely loved it. We had a good relationship for many years. And just a couple of things happened over the years with a couple of people that we knew in the company moved out, and a couple of people moved in. And now it's back in, and honestly, it has never really fallen out of my top 10 wines. But, we're looking at a wine now that it's the Equilibrium from Soul Growers. It's a Shiraz Grenache from a Verdre blend. Generally, you can lump it under the category of GSMs or Grenache Shiraz from Verdres. And for me, it's probably the best value wine.
GSM.
Yeah, it's a GSM. It's probably one of the best value wines that I've ever had. It is stunningly good. So Soul Growers are a Barossa company that essentially the reason it's called Soul Growers is because Barossa is made up of grape growers, and they are the soul of Barossa, or the grape growers. So these guys, I don't believe they have any vineyards of their own. They may have bought some since, but I don't believe they have any of their own. They buy in grapes from growers they've got really good relationships with, that they know the provenance of the grapes, and they make an outstanding wine. And in fact, Stewie Bourne, the winemaker for them, has just got winemaker of the year from the Barons of the Barossa.
Good on.
Yeah, that's huge, by the way. That's not a light thing to ever think of. Guys like Craig Stansborough, Jane Ferrari, Chris Ringland, Richard Langton, all these guys, they're excellent winemakers. And Stewie Vaughan picked this up. Great. I've been talking to a friend of mine who works for them, Tom, and he says that Stewie is really looking forward to getting up here so we can go through their entire range of wines and do a dinner with them if you're lucky. That would be really good. So this is, yeah, surprisingly well, I won't be either. So Barossa is renowned for these particular style, this particular style. Shiraz, well, Barossa is renowned for Shiraz. Grenache, again, it's another good style from there. And Mourvedre or Mataro. This, originally Barossa was settled by Germans. not the French, which is what you would have thought. Yeah, there was Syrah, Grenache, and Mourvedre or Mataro.
And Barossa the name.
The Barossa the name. It's but it's a very Germanic area, and they really like their punchy style fruits, and they have made they've had a very consistently good history, and in fact, it's probably one of the most famous regions in Australia. It is the most famous region in Australia. I can't think of one that's had such a longevity, such a torrid history, and has produced so many great wines out of it. I know Victoria's got a great wine history and a great wine background. New South Wales even has. West Australia's got some stunning wines out of there, Margaret River. Denmark, around that region as well. Tassie's got a good wine history. But for me, it's always been Barossa. It's always been sort of like the heart of Australian wine. Now, with the blend that they do for this, we were talking about blends and how we consider blends to be the leftover juice, That's not the case in this area, and not in Barossa. They actually make the wine to be drunk, and it's meant to stand up against every other straight varietal that they've got. So, when you look at this, trying to break it into the sum of its parts is really difficult, but this is a full mouth-filling wine.
The colour's just so deep.
It's such gorgeous colour. That colour comes from Mataro for the most part.
Really? I didn't think Mataro was that dark.
Yeah, Mataro's quite dark. It's quite.
I haven't actually had straight Mataro.
I've got a few of them, and we should try them at some point.
Just keep drinking.
We keep drinking, yeah, it's fine. But the Shiraz is for the fruit component, but spice and a bit of the body. Grenache is not about the body, but it's more about the sweet fruits at the front and the softer tannins in the back. And Mataro gives the colour and a bit of that tannin structure, and that makes it. From a full forward fruit wine to a much more full palate wine that actually fills out the palate, that actually makes the whole wine come to life, and also makes it one of the best food pairing wines you're going to get. If anyone walks in and goes, I'm having lamb, you can safely go GSM. If they go beef, you can safely go GSM. If they go, we're not really sure, we're going to a dinner party and we're not 100% certain what we're having, but I know it's not fish, then you probably go, it's a GSM. You're going to be fairly safe.
Roadkill?
Roadkill, yeah, it's usually pretty good. Good to see you brought us down to that level quickly. But yeah, I've had it with chicken.
Cheap.
I'm not sure. No. So, I was going to say it goes really, really well with just about any red meat. Any of the white meats as well, usually pretty good. Because it's not so overt, and especially if you've got a white meat, generally you've got some really lovely full flavours behind it. You can have, if it's a little too delicate, then you probably go away from this. But as a general rule, it's a great all-around wine, and it's probably it is my favourite blend. It's by far, by a long way.
When you were saying before about so the GSM, and then you can have an SGM, is it? So if they change around the dominant side of it to Shiraz versus Grenache, is Grenache you get the punchy fruits forward, and then if it goes more.
So the only reason it's called SGM or GSM
is more dominant.
Whichever's got the highest percentage of fruit. Yeah. So if it's Shiraz, this one's a GSM, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the last vintage was an SGM.
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah. And the reason is, again, they're trying to make the style similar. So 2018.
Whatever works.
Yeah, it's whatever makes the style the best.
Yeah.
So 2017 was a little bit of a leaner year. So the Shiraz would have been more important to bolster the Grenache.
Yeah.
So it puts a bit more weight behind it, puts a bit more forward fruit to it. Mataro might not have ripened quite as well.
Yeah.
But then it's only there for colour and for a bit of tannin as well. So you don't want to overpower that. I have had a Mataro Grenache Shiraz, and it was too meaty for me. It was just a bit too big and full.
Really tannin?
Yeah, it was quite tanniny, but lovely tannin. Don't get me wrong, it was a really good tannin, but it drew it away from the GSM blend to So this one is a Grenache Shiraz Mourvedre, so therefore there's a greater proportion of Grenache. It doesn't actually say how much. No, it just gives a story on the back. No. Probably 40-30-30. 40-30, I'm sorry. It might be. Unsure, because I remember one year it was actually 50, 30, 20, and then another year it was 45, 45, 10, and then, depending on the year, it depends on the vintage. But they're trying to make a consistently good wine, and they have to do that with the availability of the wines they have. And by the way, all the wines that go into this, the individual parcels, generally get used to make single varietals of it as well.
Yeah.
So
The straight Shiraz. Someone else does a straight Shiraz.
yep, they do a straight Shiraz, a straight Mataro, usually quite expensive Mataro at that. They do a straight Grenache, which we've got as well. And they've
We
even
have a
got,
Grenache for them.
yeah,
I haven't actually seen one.
yeah, literally it just came in with this load.
Oh,
so yeah, it's on the shelf. It's expensive. It's about $60. It's expensive.
What was that? This is about 20.
So that's 20 for Michael Hall's, 20 to 25. The Soul Growers, you'll see it online at about 28. We sell it for 25. On special at 20. If you buy 6 bottles or more, I'll do it for 20.
We got 2 for 40 now.
We're 2 for 40 at the moment, yeah. But that being said, though, this isn't my top 10 wines of all time.
I've recommended it to so many people in the store at the moment, and I've never heard a bad word said about it.
And the reason I like it is not because it is a full punchy style of Shiraz, backed up by a little bit of Grenache and a little bit of Mataro. It's not a really overly sweet, fruity style of wine, backed up by a little bit of Shiraz and Mataro. It is a balanced wine. It's got balance, it's got intensity, it has complexity, it's got length, lovely long length to it. For me, it is typical of what it is, and it's got the wow factor. So I rate this wine very, very, very highly. Thoroughly recommend it. And if you get a chance too, I believe I was talking to Tom. He said if you ever come down to Barossa, swing out to their way and they'll look after you. So if you happen to head into Barossa, let us know. We can see if we can arrange something for you.
I might go next week.
Yeah, it's a great idea. I think we'll all go.
I think I might be sick next week.
Yeah, well, that's great. Thanks, Pat. That leaves Vicky and Cody to work. Yeah, they'll get through.
Yeah.
Vicky, Cody, and Mel.
Yeah.
Oh, and Mel, is she doing the bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, you're letting the lunatics run your side.
That's going to get out really well.
Nobody watches these things. It's all right.
Shh. Stop it. But yeah, so what's your opinion on that one?
Oh, I'm still amazed by it. Like, every time I have it, I'm like, I don't think it's as good as I remember. And then I have it again, like, yeah, no, it's still as good as I remember.
Yeah.
And I can, the reason why I love it so much is I can safely recommend it to anyone with hearing the Vegas preference they have towards wine, and just be like, yep, you're safe with that one. Like,
and Dan, you were here when we drank all of them, like 2005.
We went through them once we started selling them. I'm showing people what it was really about.
yeah.
That was really what started, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really was. We had so many bottles of this stuff that we were like, what's it like? And Roz and myself cracked a bottle and went, oh wow. And Dan said, what's it going on? I said, try this. And Yumi and Jess sat down and drank it and went, oh wow. And then from there we did our...
Thank you, sir.
Excellent.
Just get Cody to
Just get Cody to give us money on the
Put out like $1.5 kilo. So
yeah, done. So we were just like, this is amazing. And then we got people to try it and did it actually as a tasting. And then we just sold cases of the stuff.
Yeah, it started going by the case.
By the case, and it was excellent.
Yeah, well, Dan was the one who actually recommended me. I had to get my uncle a present, and yeah, he said, go with that one. It's like, I haven't even told you what he likes. Like, he likes that one.
You like this one? Yeah, this is a cracker of wine. So
we moved through it at work now. Like, it's I think it's probably one of our most popular kind of.
Well, like, I literally got in 8 cases.
Yeah.
And put them on the floor. Went home. Came back the next day. Went, oh crap. Rang up. Yeah, Tom, give us another 4 cases. So another 4 cases coming. It just turns over so quickly, and it is such good booze. I mean, I have seen so many people who have been so enamoured with wines that are so lesser, that when you show them this, and then they go back to the wines that they buy all the time, they like, there's a guy down in Brisbane, I got him onto it, and he called up and he said, I need some of these other bottles. I said, yeah, and I set those down. And he rang back up and said, none of those bottles really did it for me, can I get another case of that? Yeah, sure. It's great.
I don't think you can get sick of it.
No, that's just as you said, you can have it with any kind of meal.
Yeah.
Like you could drink 2 glasses of that a night, and for the rest of your life, and be happy.
My big thing about this is all of these wines, all these wines, this wine here, will improve over time as well. This is 2000. Yeah, this is 2018, isn't it? Yeah, 2018. So 2018, and it'll hit its straps probably in about 3 years. I reckon we'll be stunned with it.
$15 for tomatoes.
Yeah, just out of the scumbag.
Take it.
Okay.
Give it out of the till, and I'll
We'll
put it back.
fix it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Gave it a stun. It'll look
Can
stunning.
you say scumbag?
Scumbag. Yeah, we can.
Fair enough.
That's my mom's nickname for it.
So yeah, essentially, and that being said, what I would recommend you do with this wine is, if you want to drink half a bottle, leave it for 24 hours and come back to it. It gets better.
Crap, those ones open. No.
No, not
Crack
those.
these
Not
open.
those. These open here, Pat.
Oh,
These
Crack
ones.
them open to have a little breathe.
But literally, the wines will improve, especially in 24 hours. Now, what we're actually talking about varietals, and particularly about blends. So you've heard of the 15% rule?
You don't have to list it.
You don't have to list it if it's under 15%. So I'm going to ask a question that is, if you can answer this, then you've passed your level 2. Why do people list wine that they have under 15% in there?
Just the name, like namesake. Like as in like to make it, because you list like varietals that aren't popular. If you chuck like the Shiraz or something name in there, people are like, oh, it's got Shiraz in there. It'll have this.
Yeah, that's a fairly valid point. Yeah, that's not a bad one. Dan?
So, what's the question?
Why would you bother listing something you've got less than 15% of in there? What's the point?
I think just up front, I said you only go 10% of this, 20% of that, 30% of that, and then don't say anything else. Like,
Yeah.
no, everyone's going to go, that doesn't add up to 100.
Yeah.
What's in there?
So, for example, if you have a Shiraz, and there's quite a few famous Shiraz out there that have between 4 and 5% Viognier into it. Why would you say it's got Viognier?
Why would you?
Yeah.
Just point to being honest about
Yeah,
it, I guess.
that's it. That is actually the answer. So, in retail and in wine lists, you actually have different sections. So, one of the sections will be Shiraz, red wine Shiraz. But then you'll also have another section saying red wine blends, Shiraz blends. In our area, we've got Shiraz blends and Cabernet dominant blends. So, it's sort of a hedging the bet in some cases. So some people's wine, they know they're not going to push the Shiraz component out of that top area of the list, but they will get their wine into the blend area of the list. And more the point, the varietal that they're blending with will usually bring something to it that is so goddamn obvious that it's very hard to sell it as a straight varietal. Viognier is a prime example. 2 to 3% of Viognier in a red wine, in Shiraz wine, will show. It will show pretty quickly and pretty easily. Especially if you start putting up to 5 and 8% in there. And of course, when you drink it, you're expecting one thing and you get another.
What's Viognier bring to Shiraz?
Usually lifted aromatics of lilacs, violets, those lifted perfume notes that you get from a Shiraz. So if you had a Shiraz and it's got those lilacs and violets and a perfume lift to it, you'll be going, oh, that's a bit weird for me. So it is kind of honesty that they're doing that as well. And it is honesty that they're trying to do it. But what they're saying is that the Viognier is bringing something to the blend. And I think it's really important to actually get that. I've actually had Shiraz that's been blended with Cabernet. And I asked why, and they said because of the colour. Oh, okay. There's only about 3% of that, so we don't tell you. Oh, okay. But then now I drink it, I go, oh, I do see a bit of Cabernet in that. There's a very famous winery that has a very famous wine that was always Cabernet. And it turned out when I went and tried it, I tried it and it was a Cabernet Malbec. And as soon as I went, oh, and then I tried a straight Malbec, I went, yep, I see why. See, what happens is a lot of varietals are really good at doing one thing really, really well. When you add something to back them up and support them, then they not only do that thing well, but they also make more complex wines, they're greater intensity, better colour, a whole range of reasons you add other wines to it, without actually adding an additive into it to do that. You can get tartaric acid, add that into the wine at the must level, and then make a wine that's, you know, a higher acidity level. Or you could blend it, or you could, you know, at the end go, this is really good, it just needs a backbone of acidity. I've got a barrel of this over here which has got more acidity to it, I'll blend that in there. And that's where blending comes in. So you've got different parts of the winemaking process.
We've done blending just about every
Even with like the times that we've done, like I think they've usually come out better than like what the winner was.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just doing it on a DIY.
That's just doing it on a DIY.
They're a lot harder with this style.
Yeah.
It's already perfect.
Because they've already made the blend and it's already.
So why do they have such bad connotations with like red blends? Like, with any blends?
The
like,
honest truth, casks.
Because there's always like Shiraz Merlot,
Shiraz,
or
Cabernet,
Cab.
Cab Merlot. Australia went through a big period where we had a lot of grape production, and a lot of grape production didn't necessarily mean a lot of quality grape production. It meant a lot of grapes just produced. So people were making a lot of wine that wasn't up to scratch, or wasn't worth bottling, put it that way. But we'd also developed casks, and casks at that point essentially were exactly what you said about blends to start with.
Yeah.
They were the remaining bits and pieces left over, put into a bag to sell cheaply out there to get your cash flow. Remember, wine's a business, so your cash flow is really, really important. So that's the whole point, that you did that, was that you wanted to get your cash flow in, so therefore you could allow yourself to age your wine, because you've got, from planting a grape to getting the wine, is 6 years.
Yeah.
So planting a grape to actually get a
business
wine
model where you don't have profit in 6 years.
6 years. It's a really bad one.
Ask for that loan.
But then also you make you harvest the grapes. It can be anywhere between 8 and 18 months, or 24 months, before you put a wine out.
Yeah.
That's a lag time of a really long period of time. So you need something out there, which is why we talk about Riesling being made, Sauv Blanc.
Yeah.
Those turnover wines to get the cash flow in, so they can actually continue to make their great wines. So what actually happened was, we had so much grape in the Australian wine industry that we've gone, wow, we'll just put it in the cask. And they did.
Well, the cask was an Australian invention, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Actually developed by Angos.
Oh, really?
Angos were the original inventors of cask. Or what's it called? Bag in a box.
Yeah,
it's called.
Well, storage-wise, it makes logical sense. Like to have, you can store more wine in a truck in casks than you can in bowls.
Well, yeah, that's how they actually transport it. They transport it internationally in bulk, in a bladder.
Yeah,
in an enormous bladder.
A container-sized bladder.
Yeah.
And that's pretty far out and funky. We'll just pour this because we're talking a lot.
Oh, this one?
We'll do the church block next. So, as I said, that's probably one of the major reasons that that blends were looked down upon, is because, we drank a whole bunch of cheap, ordinary wine that was just thrown together. And in some cases it was in cask, mostly it was in cask. And then we decided to find a cheaper avenue for some of the poorer blends that we were doing in bottle. And we put it out as a cheap bottle. Clean skins came through as well, but mainly it was cask. It was casks that really did wonders for the Australian wine industry, and also created a monster of really bad wine. And this is a story I've been told. I didn't see this myself, but this was how it was related to me. Every so often we'll get casks that are off. Usually they're oxidised or something's happened and they're not up to scratch. We send those casks back. Someone brings it and says, "Oh, this is off." Yeah, sorry about that. Do what we need to do to fix up the issue, and then we send those on to the supplier. Supplier looks up the batch number, usually pulls all of the batch number, or randomly checks just to make sure it wasn't that random cask that was bad. Pulls it, takes it away. Where do you think that wine goes?
Straight back in the vat.
Straight back in the vat.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
That is awful. Now,
is anyone surprised though?
that's the worst part.
Like, you buy a $50 cask, like, oh no, you think it's not top quality?
Yeah.
Like,
$15 cask? Yeah, no, it's not top quality. So And this is what happened.
That 8 litres isn't going to spoil the batch.
No, well, actually, not even that. It could be 142 litres.
Oh,
Straight into there, but that's thousands and thousands of litres.
Yeah.
So they're bulky quality. Now, that was a story that was told to me by someone who worked for that company. I won't tell you the company. And they said that's what happened to it. And that horrified me. But it also gave me a whole new outlook on casks. By the way, if you are overseas and you are drinking bag in a box wine overseas from Australia, it's generally pretty good. If you are buying wine in Sweden, I think it is, it comes in an orange juice. You know the orange juice, they call them Tetra Paks. In Tetra Paks. Australian...
Like juice box?
Yeah, juice box.
Oh, God.
No, it's actually excellent.
Oh, that's worse than wine in a can.
No, it's not. It's actually excellent. If you're buying wine in Sweden and places like that...
It comes with a straw.
No, you just crack the top and pour it into your glass. Literally.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just a juice box.
Not a pop-up. No. But that's how they sell it over there. And it's actually classified as good wine. Essentially what happens is, in Australia we sell, as Dan said, by the bladder overseas. Once it gets overseas, they then package it into whatever the packaging that is probably the most inexpensive and easiest way to package it up and get it out there. And so I have seen Australian Great White Chardonnay. It's got a picture of a great white shark on it in a Tetra Pak. So, and I tried it. It was good.
Is it alright?
Yeah, it was good. I wouldn't recommend it to be laid down for a few years.
Yeah.
You know, especially not like, remember that, I don't know if you saw the ad, there was an ad that the guy from Pizza, what's the guy's?
What's his name?
I don't know, anyway, the show Pizza has got this pizza, the guy who does the fat pizza, he goes, yeah, when I discovered wine, I made myself a wine cellar. And he opens up the thing and walks down to his wine cellar, and it's all cooler whale and yeah, let's come down here, look after me wine.
Well, if we didn't have box wine, we wouldn't have Goon of Fortune. So
That's right.
That's true, and that was an important part of my childhood growing up.
it's an important part of most Australian kids growing up.
Okay,
Education.
Yeah.
so now I'm going to actually say, what is the Australian blend? So, GSM is actually a Chateauneuf de Pape blend, Grenache, Shiraz, Mourvedre, Cinsault, and other carrying a couple of other varietals in there.
I'd actually.
What is Australia's classic blend? And I'll try to think critically of why it's Australia's blend.
Well, just from
Shiraz.
Cab Shiraz? Damn good guess, yours?
I'd actually say that one, just because they're the three biggest sellers that we sell in the shop.
So, Shiraz Cabernet is the classic Australian blend. Why do you think it is?
Because we have more Shiraz than Cabernet.
Yes, but there's another reason for that too.
I think
Why?
Just our taste.
So no. Why? Where in France, Spain, Italy, Germany, or any of the other old world areas you can think of that grows both Shiraz and Cabernet? Can you think of a single one?
That grows both.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
But my geography's pretty crap, so.
No.
No. Yeah.
The Côte d'Or is classically renowned for its Syrah or Shiraz. That's where most of it is. The southern region of Pays d'Oc is, which is Languedoc, Roussillon, Provence, Benoit, all those sort of areas down there. They do Grenache. They also do a little bit of Shiraz. They don't do much Cabernet. Cabernet is classically coming out of Bordeaux, the noble grape of Bordeaux. Do they grow any Shiraz in Bordeaux? No. So, when it came to Australia and we started growing wine over here, we planted whatever we wanted, wherever we wanted. I'm not saying it was a great idea, and in some cases it was a really poor idea, but we planted...
Works for us?
Yeah, we planted Grenache and Cabernet in the same region. And we managed to get a decent crop out of both. And again, Shiraz might have been quite lovely, but it's like it just lacked a little bit of something. And the Cabernet was added to it. So it is actually a classic Australian blend. Australia developed a blend of Shiraz Cabernet. So this one is the Church Block, Wirrawirra Church Block. This one is actually, unusually, it's Cabernet dominant. Normally it's a Shiraz, Cabernet and Merlot, but this one's a Cabernet, Shiraz and Merlot. And this is 2018. So in 2017 they changed their they changed to quite a dominant Cabernet component, but obviously they've held that through to 2018. So if you throw it straight on the nose, dark berries, cedar, vanilla, black plums, some blue fruits, and a little bit of earthiness to it as well. Some earth, some forest floor type thing. Yeah,
A lot of spice.
a lot of spice,
Yeah.
a lot of tannin as well.
Yeah, quite.
Because the Cabernet is dominant, you're going to have more tannin to it. Yeah, it's a classic Australian blend essentially. If you're trying to figure out how to do that, put it down, put your hand on that, and then just make a circle.
Right.
And you'll get a circle, and you'll get it flipping like that.
If you hold the glass really
Okay.
loose, if you
If
hold
you
the
hold-
glass loose, you'll see the barossa turns in a circle as well.
Right.
You get your glass actually.
Okay. The other part is when you get a bit more standing upright, you can do this and literally start do that.
Yeah, I can see it also happening with that.
Yeah. I was actually at a wine tasting and a very famous wine connoisseur. I won't say who it was because he's very famous, and if his litigation finds out, I'm in trouble. Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
He was doing this and splash. I thought, wow.
Was he wearing white?
He was wearing white. So Church Block has been a major wine for Australia. Oh yeah, it's got some tannin, hasn't it?
Tannins all up the front, but I find it's not.
Yeah.
Seems to clear out at the back.
Yeah.
It just gets it on the front of my palate's like.
Yeah, it gets, and the good is the acidity of it gives my cheeks watering as well, which is nice. I don't like the note they've actually got for it though. It's a pretty ordinary note. With a whiff of cedar and dark berries, the richness of Shiraz makes a chunky, substantial one that's a little rough-edged with plenty of acidity, but long and genuine. You come always satisfied by the saturation, the McLaren Vale width, and real tannins. It's a lot of wine.
The nose actually, I was going to say before rough.
Yeah,
The nose was actually a bit rough, I thought. But
bit too high on the alcohol.
yeah.
It just seems
Well, it would be. It's 14.5. So that's-
it's really Cabernet dominant on the
It is.
on the nose.
I actually remember I drank a fair bit of Church Block there for a while, and I remember the Shiraz component being a lot more dominant and being a lot more juicy, forward fruit.
Well, I remember we did a tasting for it like last year,
yeah.
and I remember it like being different. I remember it being that and the Catapult being my kind of picks of it. But yeah, it tastes. I don't know if that's a different vintage, but or maybe my palate's changed.
That
Yeah.
happens.
If that happens a lot over the years, you will definitely change. Yeah, that's lovely. So, I actually got this because I thought it blended 3 of the classic dominant varietals of Australia, which Pat was saying, Cabernet, Shiraz and Merlot. It brings a portion of each to each of it. The Cabernet is quite dominant in this, but the Merlot does give it a bit of, fills out that middle part particularly nicely, and does give a little bit of that earthiness that I was expecting. Shiraz is not as punchy as forward fruit as I thought. It does have some of the blue fruits in there, but it doesn't have the, in comparison, it's more about the spice of the Shiraz in this particular case. I'm thinking 2018, the Shiraz for this might have been picked a little bit earlier, just because it seems to be a bit more spicy and a lot less jammy.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
jam.
No real jamminess to it.
That's probably what I'm missing actually.
Yeah.
Jammy.
Yeah, because you see McLaren Vale, you
Yeah.
think jamminess to it. That being said, though, I'm not exactly upset with it.
I think I can actually. I feel like I get more of the Merlot than the Shiraz though.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, because it just
Like, it just seems more like I can definitely get like the cab's really up front, and but I swear it's more from my tasting Merlot than Shiraz.
I think the spiciness of the Shiraz is all I'm really getting from the Shiraz is a little bit of the blue fruits and spiciness. Merlot seems to have a bit more cut through
Yeah.
because it fills out that middle palate. One of the ways that I think about wines is, let's just pretend that's your tongue, with the tip being there and the back being there. Shiraz, big fruit at the front of the tongue, and then sort of tapers off. It's got a bit of a mid palate, but tapers right off the back. Cabernet, a little bit of fruit at the front, quite a dead hole, and then a big finish to the back. Merlot, a little bit of fruit at the front, but mainly fills out that mid palate and then finishes quite.
So that's why those three kind of go together.
That's why they sort of fit together to make a full palate wine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously, with the Shiraz not being quite as dominant with the forward fruit, instead of having a big sort of thing, it's probably there, and then the Merlot just fills that part out, and then the Cabernet, which is quite strong. I don't know if it actually rounds the whole thing out really well.
I don't find this to be. I wouldn't say this is a very well balanced wine.
Yeah,
It's nice, but
I'll go with that. I'll say, for me though, it's got some balance. It's not perfectly balanced, but it's certainly balanced. It does have a balance of sweet. Well, then again, no, the alcoholic flavours that had sort of balanced a bit with warmingness. So, whilst the balance is probably not as great as I was hoping it would be, it still has a good long finish. The intensity is there, like it's got lovely intense flavours. Complex, yes, I did get half a dozen different flavours in there, so the complexity is there. Is it typical of a red blend? Yeah. Is it a wow factor for me? I'll give it 50-50 on that one. It's one that I would not be upset to drink. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be upset at all to drink that. I reckon, and this is just a guess, because this probably won't make it out of this tasting, is that if we left that for 24 hours, it would integrate better. And this is why, actually, can you pass that glass over, please, Dan? This is why I find wine really does benefit from aeration. So we've only just literally cracked and poured this, so it's a bit hard to do it. And if you don't have it,
that's what we should use it for.
the aerator.
Yeah, the little one.
Do we have it here?
Yeah.
Oh, we do. I haven't seen it.
The little portable one.
So this is literally how, if you don't have an aerator, to aerate wine. Can you go and tell Cody that a box of Merlot is for Thai? If you happen to be watching this Thai, we have your Merlot here. Dandelion Merlot.
The Merlot is for Thai.
It's an order. There you go. Yeah, this little one that we were given.
Oh yeah.
I use this for tastings.
Yeah.
Wait, which Merlot is it?
The dandelion.
Oh, sweet. Love it when Thai gets nice wine.
Is
I get nice
this
wine.
actually an aerator, is it?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's supposed to be. Yeah.
What is it?
Wine affair. Should aerate as you pour it through.
Really?
It looks like a bike pump.
Yeah, it does. I'm sure it's not
Is
just
it in the wrong box?
No, it's. I think this is actually. What is it?
You just kind of shove it in there and just.
Now.
Maybe it's aerating the whole wine. I have no idea. But no. So as I said, we've just done this to aerate the wine a bit.
Says nothing.
So it's not worth it for you. There you go. That's all good. So, and now just trying to aerate it.
It's a bottle opener.
I didn't think it was an aerator.
Pushes the cork out.
Try that now.
Well, actually, I've got a bike tire at home. I need to pump it up.
Yeah, literally, you just see me pour it from glass to glass just to get alcohol in, air into it.
Yeah. A little bit, not.
It's actually integrated a little bit better. You're getting more. There's more seamless integration with it. So the Cabernet is still there. The Shiraz actually fills it out a bit better. And the Merlot is now not quite as dominant.
The Merlot is definitely not as dominant.
It's now filling out that palate, so it's turned into a bit more of a.
So I was a little harsh on it then.
Yeah, a little bit hard. Only because.
Sorry, Shane.
Yeah, but then again, remember this is a crack and pour, and here's a really sad fact: all wine bought in Australia, 80% of it is drunk within the first 6 hours of buying it.
6 hours is generous.
6 hours. No, well, 6 hours is the average.
Yeah, but it's not opened, is it?
No.
So it's drank from 6 hours, but it's only open for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's only open to it. Literally crack and pour it. Which is why you will find Australian winemakers have actually driven stylistically towards ready-to-drink wine straight away. Now, to do that, there are several ways to do that. One of them is a thing which is not particularly well liked, but is done a lot at lower end wines, is enzymization, where they actually add an enzyme into the wine to age it prematurely. If you do that, it'll actually make a particularly ordinary red wine look a lot better for that period of time, for maybe 12, 18 months. But after that, it's gone, it's done. And if you've bought wine over the years that you've gone, I bought this in 2016, you crack it in 2020 and you go, oh, there's something gone wrong with that. Literally, that's probably been enzymized. It doesn't happen a huge amount. It doesn't happen to any wine above $20. Okay, it does not happen. It did for a little while back in the mid-90s when they were trying to win certain awards, particularly the Jimmy Watson. They would enzymize their wine to make it look like a far more complex and better developed wine than it was. And that was a couple of wineries did that. It's not illegal, but it's certainly...
What's the actual process?
So literally, you make the wine and then you add an enzyme into it, and it begins to break the wine up.
To age it
prematurely.
Yeah.
Which means that if you grabbed a cheap bottle of wine, and I won't use a particular name for it, particular brand, you'd get a wine and go, oh, geez, how good is that? Like that. Oh, wow, that is drinking so well. That is brilliant for like $10. That is outstandingly good. But you hold that wine for 3 years, you crack it and you pour it and you go, what the hell happened to that wine? It's because it's gone. It's done. It's my favourite sherry, kind of thing. That did happen for a while. And that was a really bad thing that occurred throughout the wine industry. And I don't believe it happens anymore, but for lower end wines, I'm not going to...
They would have learnt from it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's people trying to put our wine down.
But remember, as I said, Australian winemakers are making to be drunk earlier. So that's one way of doing it. Another way to do it is to let the fruit hang a little longer, to make it the 14.5% alcohol wines, and to get more fruit out of that wine, so therefore it's more structural and more fruit driven at the start. Mm-hmm. But then after a day or two, it'll actually, after 1 day it probably looks the best, and after 2 or 3 days it probably fades away. Some of the French wines that I've had have got so much tannin and acidity to it that I couldn't drink it on opening. 24 hours later, stunningly good.
Okay.
Which is why when you go to a good restaurant and they offer a decanting service for the wine, take it. It costs you nothing else. There's no more to it. But it'll make the wine look 10 times better. And particularly if it's an old world wine, you don't want to drink a young old world wine unless you're used to that style, which is a bit confronting.
It's horrible?
Confronting. Let's use the word confronting, because horrible is a very subjective term. I have drunk lots and lots and lots and lots of wine from all over the world, and I would have to say that my favourite region to buy, well, my favourite country to get wine from was Italy, because they make their wines ready to drink straight away, essentially. Usually it's got a couple of years on it before they release it even.
Yeah.
France is smarter. They've actually put a mandate that it's at least 2 years to their AOC wines before they're released. Australia, let's face it, we put a wine out that year. I've been to wine regions where I've actually drunk that year's vintage of red, of Shiraz, and I've gone...
So it hasn't been in barrel
no,
for any time.
It's unoaked. And you can unoak wine. There's actually quite a few unoaked wines, or wines that have seen large format oak, and they want to express the grape itself. I understand what they're doing. I applaud them for doing it, but it's not my thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like a wine that's actually had some winemaking to it and had some skill in putting it together and some intelligence in creating a style that I enjoy. Yeah. I don't enjoy a wine that is just the berry itself.
It's just grape juice then, isn't it? Really?
Well, no, it does show it's fermented, so therefore it's showing itself to be really interesting, and you'll see the basis of it, but then you see why they actually add oak or why they actually allow malolactic fermentation to go into it. So yeah, it's another interesting point to see in winemaking. Barolo is probably a prime example of it. When I was drinking some Barolo in Italy, Barolo is a really cool. We had that Nebbiolo. So that Nebbiolo that we had is actually the grape varietal that's used in Barolo. I had an American oaked Barrique Barolo. It was punchy. It was really, big oak to it. It actually kind of dominated the fruit component to it. And I drank it. I went, it's really pleasant. Probably a little bit too oaky for me. But then I tried Barolo from the large fondant, or the 5,000 litre barrel. Yeah. And I tried that, and I was like, oh, that's really lovely. Yeah. But it was more about expressing the fruit. But I went down to Puglia, and I tried Primitivo, it's called Negro Amaro. And I tried a Negro Amaro, and from an American oak barrel, I was just like, yeah, I'm in love with this wine. And then I tried it from a fondant, which is the one which expresses the grape. And I could see where the one from this one had come from. And I was like, that is still gorgeous. Completely different, but gorgeous. And I do see that. But as I said, in Australia, we sort of, there's a couple of people doing that sort of style. So yeah, it all depends on what we're doing for that. The last wine we're going to do, though, is one of my favourite wineries, Sons of Eden. It's their Pumper Cabernet Shiraz. Again, the classic Australian varietal blend. Yes. So, one of the things that you kind of need to know a little bit about is what wineries do and what they aim for. So, this is again a Cabernet Shiraz, which Church Block is a Cabernet Shiraz Merlot. We talked about that. We talked about the fruits and flavours and stuff. Let's have a look and see what Sons of Eden do. That might be different.
No Merlot in this one.
No Merlot in this one, but the first thing you can see is the colour is dramatically different.
A little lighter.
No, a little bit more dark, more dense. Yeah, far more dense.
And have a look at that again.
Okay. I didn't stick your nose in it.
I love that smell.
Yeah, it's awesome. That is big black fruit. There's a big black fruit. Got vanilla. Some cedar notes. Oh, there's almost like a mulberry.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's cassis, but there's also like a mulberry component to it as well. Put that over your palate. What do you get? Massive amounts of structure and fruit.
Yeah, I love that.
It's just awesome.
I wasn't expecting that.
No, you weren't. Eden Valley fruit. Are generally in Barossa, Eden Valley fruit is generally a lot more dense and a lot darker. So when I say that, we're talking about red fruits from Barossa Valley floor. Eden Valley is usually more dark fruits. There's a real denseness to this that comes from the Cabernet component and the Shiraz component. The Cabernet component gives it a real power to it and structure. The Shiraz brings some spice notes, but also that upfront fruit.
That's amazing.
It's pretty good, isn't it? So, what are you getting from that, Pat?
I get like a little bit of, like, apart from all the blackberries and the stuff that you just said, like, kind of dense rainforest kind of floor. Like, it really, I can see the mulberry, like.
Also get chocolates to it, like mocha.
A little bit on the back. Yeah, more of a milk chocolate.
Yeah, it's really smooth style.
It is. There's no gripping tannin.
You expect the Cabernet to be really dominant, but it's not. It's blended really nicely with the Shiraz.
So
that would have to be almost half, I reckon.
Yeah, probably not far off. Let's have a quick look at the notes.
Oh no, it's 87 to 13.
Wow.
So
in favour of Cabernet.
So the fruit in the Shiraz then is just
it's just must
pushing
be.
the tannin out of the Cabernet. It's really good.
So, because it has got red fruits, dark fruits to it that are really pushing it through. So, It's Eden, Sons of Eden is Barossa's brightest young winery. It's committed to delivering wines. Blah, blah, blah. Let's just get through that. Winemaker Corey Ryan, viticulturist Simon Cowell. We've had those guys up actually for dinners over the time.
Simon Cowell's brainchild.
Not Simon Cowell. Cowham.
Alright.
So the blenders of Eden Valley Cabernet and Shiraz, named as a tribute to Len Pumper and his fellow Eden Valley Vignerons, who pioneered and persisted with one of Australia's most challenging but rewarding viticultural regions. 2018 Sons of Eden Pumper Cabernet is rich, juicy, rounded with chewy tannins, finishing with a lovely freshness. Yeah, that sort of ticks the boxes for me. I have people lining up to buy this, and it is just, it's great. It's good fruit.
What's the price point of these two?
Okay, so 25 goes on special fairly regularly for about 19 to 20. 25 bucks. If, yeah.
Pumper only 25.
25.
So 25 is around the same price point as Soul
Yeah.
Rose.
Yep.
That's really
That's
good
outstanding,
value.
isn't it? I would like to point out, before we get a little bit too enamoured about the pricing, all the wines that come into the shop here are tasted by, well, Dan and myself. Okay, we do look at every single one that comes in, even the cheap stuff.
It's a hard job.
It's a hard life. You know, we do our best to struggle through, but every single thing that comes in,
We do this for you.
we do this for you people out there. But the big thing is, though, that we want to find wines that we can get excited about, that we think over-deliver at the price point. So, for example, we'll find a wine that we go, oh, that's really good. Like a wine like this.
Yeah.
That's really good. How much is that? $40 a bottle. It's worth 40? No, I'll be fine. It doesn't over-deliver at 40.
Well,
But at 25, you go, that's a $50 bottle right there.
Yeah, I thought that was around a $40 bottle. Like,
Some of the others
Yeah.
are.
Well,
I
I've
struggle up on those. They've got a.
They don't do it. A step above that is the Sons of Eden Valley, that Sons of Eden, Remus and Romulus. That's right.
because they've also got the Sons of Eden, the Freya, the Riesling.
Yep, the Riesling, which is a stunning Riesling.
Yeah, I haven't had it, but I love the reference to North mythology. But yeah, I love it.
Actually, here's a story for you. When I was doing my WSET exam, I lucked out and got Australian Riesling, and I drank it and I went, shit, that tastes like the Freya. So I wrote my tasting note and I went, yeah, that's definitely, and I wrote the whole note, wrote the region, and I even put at the end, Sons of Eden Freya, and just as a laugh, because if I got it would have been like massive kudos. If I didn't get it, they'd be like, they gave it a shot, type thing. And it was Freya, and I was so happy I nailed it.
Did you get bonus point?
I have no idea. I passed. That's all I cared about. The guys around me though, that were like, oh yeah, no, that was definitely a Clare Valley Riesling. And I'm like, okay. What was it? Sons of Eden, Freya. And they looked and went, you know it that well. I was drinking it like 2 days ago. It was just one of those blind luck things that happens in the world of wine. I suppose if you drink enough, you're going to luck out eventually. Yeah. But that being said, though, like these guys, Sons of Eden, have for me do some of the best wine. And in fact, when it comes to Eden Valley, it's such a good area to grow.
Where is it situated?
So Eden Valley is part of Barossa Valley. So Barossa Valley, which is just north of Adelaide, you've got Barossa Valley floor, and then you go up into Eden Valley, and then you go up again to High Eden Valley. So Mount Adam and places like that are a High Eden Valley. So 400 to 450 metres is Eden Valley, and then it's 480, I think, for High Eden Valley. But Barossa Valley floor sits at about 90 above sea level. And you can tell when you consistently drink wines from that area, you actually will see red fruits, punchy sort of flavours, probably sometimes overblown or blousy, they call it.
That's
But
the
richer style fruits.
richer in Barossa.
Yep.
From the heat and the extra sugars.
And then you go to Eden, which is cooler because it's higher, and the fruit gets denser and darker. So you're not getting red fruits; you're getting more darker fruits, like black plums and things like that. Then you go to High Eden Valley, which is again darker and denser again. That being said, though, there aren't that many wineries in High Eden Valley. The good part about Eden Valley is that it's protected a fair bit from, even though it looks straight out over the ocean and cops all the same weather patterns that Barossa Valley floor does, it doesn't have the, what's the word for it, humidity that it picks up.
Yeah.
The Barossa Valley floor will pick up a lot more humidity, which puts a lot more disease pressure on the vines. Whereas up in the upper areas, mould and all that kind of stuff comes through, particularly when it's got a lot of humidity there. Your vines will pick up, moulds or rots and
root rot.
yeah. So, whereas up in the higher area, it's a lot more breezes come through to mitigate that, and the cooler climate makes it a little bit less clean soil, which means that where Barossa Valley harvests here, Eden Valley actually harvests here. High Eden Valley harvests. So it's a little bit later. So therefore, if you get a really bad weather conditions come through during vintage for Barossa Valley floor, you can sometimes get lucky and later, when it goes away, that particular bad area, that bad climate condition goes away.
So it's wet.
Yeah. Wet, humid, hailstone, things like that. You might be able to avoid some of that due to the fact of being in Eden Valley. Which is why a lot of Barossa Valley wine producers, and we're talking guys like St. Helens, who else is there? St. Helens, all of the Treasury wineries, some of the Accolade wineries, all like to draw fruit from Eden Valley because it's almost like a more consistent area to draw the wines from. You'll get more denseness from that, which is really, especially if you blend, say you take this and blend that with a Barossa Valley floor style, you're going to get the dense fruit, the dense dark fruits balancing off to the bright red fruits here. And it makes a really great blend. And in fact, when we were talking about the 15% rule, which is why we were talking about, let's just say, Brokenwood, which is a Hunter Valley winery, does a Hunter Valley Shiraz, Eden Valley Shiraz blend. They own a vineyard down in Eden Valley, and they source grapes from Eden Valley. They'll take them up to Hunter, make it, they'll blend the wine together to get a very consistent but unique style of wine. It's got the bright red cherries and white pepper of Hunter Valley, but it's also got the dark, dense fruits of Eden Valley. Now, that can do one or two things. One, it can be a great wine, or it could scream at each other.
I expect it to have that nice fruitiness up front, and then the dark fruit comes through at the back.
But remember, you're also filling that same area with a red cherry. So red cherry and those dark, dense fruits sometimes don't mesh together really well. I'm not going to make an adjudication on it because I haven't drunk that wine for quite a few years. But the last time I have, when you start blending regions together, it makes, if you know those regions well, it's very obvious that they're not from that region. But let's face it, 90% of the people that drink wine don't. So
you either like it or you don't.
Yeah, you either like it or you don't. And really that's what it comes down to. Do you like the wine or don't you like the wine? So out of all the wines here, what's your pick of the blends?
It's a bit of a fight between Sons of Eden and
Solgras,
really. Just for something different that I haven't tried, in a long time, I'd probably vote with Sons of Eden on this one.
Okay. Pat?
I love the Sons of Eden and the Soul Growers. Like, they're brilliant. I'll probably have to go with Soul Growers just because I love it so much.
Well, you know which way I'm going to go.
Soul Growers.
Soul Growers.
Yeah, you suck.
However, that being said though, it's almost, I'll just have to revisit it.
Actually, I could be persuaded.
I think we'll have to revisit that one again. I just don't know because
that was a trick. I'll revisit this one.
So hold on.
Go the other way. This is just really pleasant. I haven't had it in a long time. It's like,
I've never had that one, and I've always looked at the label and wondered about it, but yeah.
That's going to be a lot fuller.
Hold on.
They're different animals, really.
They are different animals, but we are looking to see.
I just think for a wine that I can sit down and drink under any circumstances, just that one.
A wine under any circumstances, that one.
Yeah.
But if you want to sit down and chew over this one,
I can imagine that with like a nice like especially now in winter with like a nice slow cooked meal
Yeah, actually, I was going to say this one's an all year round wine. That one is
A winter.
wine.
Yeah.
That is great in front of a fire on a bearskin rug,
Yeah.
naked with your wife, that kind of thing.
Oh, damn, I haven't got a beer.
I have to get a wife.
I have to go get it. You got the bearskin rug. You're saying, that's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed all the information we gave today, and drink well, drink like a savvy. Cheers.
Cheers. That always makes me nervous. That one's gone.